Hello and welcome to Mythology. I'm Austin Wrathall, and in this video I will share some of the lessons, activities, and ideas that I used to teach the history behind Disney's Brother Bear. Brother Bear has a rich history behind it. It tells the story of a man from ancient North America who has to learn selflessness after he is transformed into a bear. So here are some of the concepts and resources you can use when teaching the history behind this underrated Disney classic. Concept 1. The Pleistocene Epic. The first thing to teach students about Brother Bear is when and where it takes place. Now, if you've watched my when and where video about Brother Bear here on this channel, you will know why I believe the movie takes place around the Pleistocene Epic in North America. The Pleistocene Epic was a time during the last ice age, and it was the first time in the Earth's history where humans appeared, and it was a time in which humans lived alongside ancient creatures like mammoths, and we see mammoths and humans interacting in Brother Bear. Now, students often wonder how we modern humans can possibly know anything about a time that is so far removed from us in the past. How do we know that humans and mammoths interacted? How do we know what life was like back thousands of years ago? To help students understand how we can possibly know about things like ice ages and what life was like back then, I have them perform a group jigsaw activity in which they learn about different types of evidence that modern humans use to understand ice ages. The ones that I assign students to study are tree rings, ice cores, tar pit fossils, and man-made artifacts. Students can split into groups and read a short article or paragraph about each of these things, and they can share it with the group and summarize it in a worksheet. I am posting a link to a free worksheet that you can use with your students to do this activity, and each type of evidence has a link attached that will take students to a reading that they can do to learn about that type of evidence. So if you would like to assign this as a digital worksheet, it is all ready to go for you. You just need to make a copy of the Google Doc. Concept 2. The First Americans. The Pleistocene was the first epoch in history in which humans were present. While students do not need to delve into the intricacies of human evolution to appreciate Brother Bear, they do benefit from learning about how humans first arrived in North America. Since Brother Bear takes place in Alaska, this gives you a good opportunity to discuss things like the Bering Land Bridge theory. There are plenty of excellent resources online already for teaching this theory, and you can do it in many ways, whether it's lecture, Nearpod, a YouTube video, a reading assignment, or really any other way you want. My goal was always to make sure that students understood why humans settled in Alaska and North America in the first place, and how hunting animals like mammoths might have motivated that migration. Concept 3. Inuit Religion. Besides maybe wildlife, there is no other concept more central to Brother Bear than Inuit religion and mythology. So, this gives you a chance to introduce students to the basic vocab words associated with religion and the basic concept of world religion in general, which you will study in more depth if you're doing something like U.S. history or state history or geography. You might choose to discuss things like animism or shamanism with your kids, both of which are featured in the movie. You can also talk about the unique views of the afterlife and the soul that come from Inuit traditions, which is something very unique that Brother Bear gives you a chance to teach about. Now, those are things that I did not know much about when I tried to teach this movie, and I had to do a lot of research before teaching Inuit religion to my students. I ended up with enough information that I created a slideshow about the basic beliefs of Inuit peoples, and I am posting a copy of that in the description to this video if you would like to use it yourself. It only gives you a basic overview of Inuit religious beliefs and traditions, but it should be enough to get you started and to help your kids understand what those basic beliefs are and how they compare to the religious practices we see in the movie Brother Bear. Concept 4. Mythology and Folklore. The lesson that students always had the most fun with, and the one that allowed them to make probably the most connections to Brother Bear, was our lesson on Inuit myths and folk stories. I would put students into groups and assign each group a different Inuit myth or folk tale to read. I would give them a whole class period in which they would read the story together and then turn that story into a skit, which they would act out for the class. Then, after every group had performed, the students would, at least in theory, walk away familiar with 4 different folk tales. Each of the stories I selected had to do with transformation, which is a prominent theme in Inuit and Native Alaskan folklore and in the movie Brother Bear. The stories I chose were The Blind Man Who Recovered His Sight, Sedna the Sea Goddess, Kisaruwatsiak, and The Never-Ending Bear Hunt. Now, these stories, just so you know, are a little bit grim at times and a little bit strange, but they don't contain any content that would be much different from what you would find in an original version of a Grimm's fairy tale. The students laughed at some of the stories and thought they were kind of strange, but it also presents a good opportunity to talk about how these stories and folk tales that we get from times past can be transformed in the modern day, and how we tend to forget when we see a Disney-fied version, like Brother Bear or The Little Mermaid, say, how strange and even violent some of the stories can be in their original form. My biggest challenge with the folklore assignment was finding stories that students could use. I wanted to make sure that they were real and accurate folk tales. I wanted to make sure they were written in language students could understand when reading them, and I wanted to make sure they were short enough that students could read them in a class period and turn them into a skit easily. It took me a while, and I had to go to several different websites to do it, and for some of them I ended up editing the story to make it shorter and to update some of the language that students would not be familiar with. I put all of this on a single Word doc, and I am posting a copy of that Word doc for you for free, and within the Word doc itself it tells you the source where I got each of the stories. So those are some of the ways that you can teach social studies with Brother Bear. I hope you enjoyed the ideas and resources you found here, and I hope that you share some of your own in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.